person that I want to introduce is presenter Don Adams. He's president of Independence Hall Tea Party PAC, and I can't imagine we would be able to do the things we do without Don at the helm. He is tireless, he fights hard for the cause, he's honest, he's genuine, and he's also my brother.
Our next presenter, which may seem a little strange to you, but we are very fortunate to have a terrific keynote speaker at this July 4th Tea Party. Last year we had 2,500 people. We have a good crowd. You're dispersed out there, but it's, I think, a little undeserving in numbers of how phenomenal this speaker is. Let me just say, the presenter is amazing himself. He's a Tea Party activist. He is an incredible, energetic man. He's a doctor, a medical doctor. He's a conservative. He is a friend of mine, and believe me, Bill Kristol would not be here today. Dr. Robert Skloff.
Greetings. What's the brevity, the soul of wit? We have to get things moving because it's hot out there. I have a couple key points to make, some of which have already been made, but all of which relate to Bill Kristol.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Robert. I don't think I'm going to be nominated for the Supreme Court. I'm not a lawyer, for one thing. Yeah, I know. Maybe it'd be better to have a non-lawyer on the Supreme Court.
Hagen isn't a lawyer either.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me and my wife Susan here. It's great to be back in Philadelphia. As Robert mentioned, this is our first job. We both taught at the University of Pennsylvania. Susan taught Greek and Latin, and I taught political science. I was the token conservative on the faculty there. They like to have one at all times. You know, it's useful for the students to know what one looks like, especially when they get out and have to have a job interview or something like that. But, so it's great to be here, back in Philly. It's great to be with you. And really, I'll be brief. It's, as we've all noticed, it's a little hot. I really want to say thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for what you are doing. I really have not seen in my 20, 25 years in politics the kind of grassroots movement that the Tea Parties and associated groups represent. Citizens doing what they think is right for the country, not out of narrow self-interest, not because you are going to get anything out of this in a direct sense, but because you're concerned about the future of the country, concerned about the country our children, our grandchildren inherit. I'm sure not everyone here agrees on every issue, and I don't agree with everyone here on every issue, but the basic principles of limiting government, of not going further into debt, and of getting ourselves out of a debt that's going to be a terrible burden on our children and grandchildren. The principle of not passing a health care plan that is both will increase the debt and will, unfortunately, if it stays in effect, will decrease the quality of health care in this great country. The good news there, I think, is with the right election returns this November, and in November 2012, the Obamacare plan, President Obama's health care plan, can, I believe, be repealed. Root and branch. Some pundits and even some conservatives say, well, nothing ever gets repealed. You just can trim it at the edges. Once these things get passed, you're stuck with them forever. I really don't agree with that kind of fatalism, especially in this case, especially with something that would do so much damage, and especially when you see the kind of citizen activism that the president has inadvertently, I think, generated in opposition to his stimulus package and his health care plan and his unfortunate cap and trade effort, and unfortunately lots of other domestic policies that he's pursuing. I also want to salute people here. I've talked with a lot of you privately in areas of foreign policy. I've been critical of much that President Obama has done. I think many of you, I'm certain, have been as well. When he does the right thing, on the other hand, it's important to support the president and the commander-in-chief. And I think in fighting the war in Afghanistan and in trying to win the war in Afghanistan and defeating our enemies and not retreating and making making the world more dangerous by retreating. The president is trying to do the right thing. He should do it a little more aggressively, in my view, and not have a July 2011 deadline for beginning to withdraw troops, and he could improve the coordination of the civilian and military sides. But that is something where I think patriotic citizens obviously have to make up their own mind, but I know many of you join me in supporting our effort there, in supporting the war that we have to fight, and I think that we have to win. There are obviously decent people who think it's the wrong place to fight, and that it's unwinnable, I suppose, and that we have to get out. But I think it's a mistake to underestimate the American citizenry, American public, which is willing to hang in there through a tough fight. And certainly it's a mistake to underestimate the American military, the young men and women who have fought so bravely over there and in Iraq, and who continue to fight there. I really want to thank you for the amount of your program and for the things that you have done this afternoon to honor our troops. You know, it's really important that we do that. You did it in such a tasteful and moving way earlier this afternoon. I've met people here who are relatives of troops who have served and are serving, and some who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And one of the things that really makes one proud to be an American is to meet these young men and women who have volunteered, in many cases since 9/11, knowing they were volunteering, quite possibly to put themselves in harm's way, and to go fight difficult wars. Sometimes one can question particular decisions that are made in the conduct of those wars, but difficult wars that I think we will win, and that we have to win. You know, there's a sign up there I saw before, maybe they've gone away. Oh, there it is, 9/11 truth. Now, the truth about 9/11 is that we were attacked by radical jihadists who wanted to kill Americans and who did kill 3,000 of our fellow Americans. And the truth about 9/11 is that the world will be a safer place when we defeat them over there and hopefully prevent them from being able to come back over here. I also want to thank you for doing so much to bring back the memories and to commemorate the Declaration of Independence and the work of our founding fathers, both here in Philadelphia on the Declaration of Independence and then on the Constitution. It's really wonderful to speak with Independence Hall behind me. It's just another reason why this is a special Tea Party, I think, on July 4th here in Philadelphia. But this is one of the great things, I think, that the Tea Party movement has done. Like all great American civic movements, it appeals to the first principles of America, and it honors those who went before us. We don't assume that we're necessarily at all more intelligent than they are, or that we've progressed beyond them, as was fashionable to think over recent decades. Instead, you're asking people to go back to the principles of the Declaration and the Constitution, and I think that's an extremely good thing for the country, and it's certainly an appropriate thing to stand for and to call for here in America. We're so fortunate, other people have said this before me, and I very much want to echo this, we're so fortunate to be Americans. When one travels around the world, one sees that in so many ways. Many of our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents came over here fleeing tyranny and oppression. Some came much, much earlier, but it is wonderful to be able to, it's such a privilege to be born here. With privilege comes responsibility. With rights come duties. I think this generation of Americans and all of you, by doing what you're doing, are contributing to, are assuming that responsibility and are exercising not just your rights, which are important, your right to speech, your right to political participation, that's a wonderful thing, but also the duty to try to leave this country stronger than when our parents left it to us, and to leave this country healthier, and to leave our institutions strong for the next generations.
Thank you.
I know many of you, like me, have been reading, rereading, not just the text of the Declaration, which we've heard here this morning, and the Constitution, but about biographies and histories of the Founding Fathers. And it really is worth remembering the risks they took and the sacrifices they made. You know, you kind of grow up, you read about the American Revolution and the Constitutional Convention, and it seems sort of easy. But of course it wasn't easy at the time. They fought, they sacrificed, they pledged their lives and their fortunes and their sacred honor, and really we can do no less. So thank you all so much for having Susan and me here today. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.